Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello, listeners. This is your host, Andy Curry. Welcome to the program today. Folks, we're excited. We have an interesting speaker with us today who is an entrepreneur. Also, his name is Loren Murfield. He is what is known as a visionary facilitator. He helps people see and do the impossible. Yes, that's what I said. He helps people see and do the impossible. You're going to like this, so stick around. Loren believes everyone has more opportunities than they can imagine. So, as you can tell, Loren is big on opportunities. He is based out of Florida. He has written an astounding 12 books. And his first one is called Chevettes to Corvettes, Unleashing the Ultimate Small Business. So, Loren, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
We are excited to have you on. Let's talk about your business. How are you helping entrepreneurs? The opportunity angle really interests me. Tell me about that.
Well, most people, they're really working hard. But one of the main things that they struggle with is they just don't see where their great opportunity is going to come. They think of winning in the lottery or something like that. But in the world of rapid and radical change, which I call the 3D world, they're coming at us all the time. And most of the time we're tripping over them thinking they're obstacles. But I help them in one way. When I do executive coaching, I'm helping them to fine-tune their vision, to help them to look for opportunities that oftentimes is found in the obstacles, and then helping them to maintain their focus, maintain their intensity, because all kinds of distractions come at them. Some of the people that I work with, I help them write their book. A lot of people never think they could write a book. Well, I didn't either. I wrote my first one in 2007, 2010, I wrote 8 of them. And they're all about 150 to 300 pages. But helping them to see the process and see how it can be much easier. I help them leverage their leadership power, the power to lead their own life and then the power to lead others. So the key is helping them to sharpen their vision, help them to sense the opportunity, and then secondly, help them to walk through a process, and it's all custom process, to see what they want and help them to get what they want. And we all get tripped up along the way. One of those ways is helping them write their book, helping them write Heisman Trophy winner, write his book. And he's a great storyteller. In fact, he's a professional speaker. But telling the story, they didn't quite know how to do that and couldn't quite see how they could use that. And then there's another one I'm working with right now that is great fun. Would you believe I'm working with a lawn care specialist? This guy's got his own business treating lawns, but he's also got a side interest in the Constitution. Now, that's pretty diverse. That's pretty strange. But he's really learned in it. He's studied up on it, and so we're putting it in to be a very fun book. It'll be fun to read. It's not a dry, old, dusty one. And helping him to see how can he get this message out. And his message is basically that we have choices. And we have choices as found in the Constitution. And he's finding that he's got choices within business. He's got choices that even though he does a book that's out, people would say, wait a minute, it's not even close to what you're doing. So it's the bizarre. It's seemingly impossible. And he's seeing, wait a minute, I've got a choice here. I've got an opportunity where I can do far more than what I ever thought possible and what other people ever thought possible. So the possible is really possible. The impossible is really possible. When we reframe it, we rethink about it, we take another look at it. So next time an opportunity or next time an obstacle comes our way, look for the opportunity, because there's one in every single obstacle.
I love that, because Napoleon Hill, as I'm sure who you know about, talks about that a lot. So what is your technique, your tip for finding that opportunity in that obstacle?
Stop. Because most of the time we run through life, we trip, we yell at the thing that tripped us, we get up, get angry, we look back, and we keep going. The problem is we got to stop it. We got to make a break in our behavior, and where we stop and say, wait a minute. Now, way back when I was growing up on a farm outside of a tiny town in South Dakota, fifth of 8 kids, somewhere along the way, I had this idea for a bumper sticker that says, think, there's a better way. Too many times we're simply reacting. So when we stop our thinking, stop what we're doing, pause just a minute, look up, look at it from a different angle, oftentimes we can see things that we never thought possible. But not if we keep rushing through doing the same old. I'm sure Yogi Berra would have had something fun to say about that.
Can you give us some examples of you don't have to mention names, but people you've worked with who had that breakthrough so the listeners can get a feel for that?
I was working with an auto mechanic that was struggling along in business, and he's doing okay. He's a good mechanic, nice guy, but he's doing about $25,000 in sales every month, gross sales. I came in and was meeting with him for an hour a week, once a week, and come along, and after 3 months, just 90 days, he was doing $40,000 a month in sales. And people said, what's he telling? Asking my client, what's he telling? This guy really must have all the answers. And he says, actually, he doesn't know anything about fixing cars. I fix his cars for him. He doesn't know anything about the industry. So what gives? What's he do? He keeps me focused. When I go to do things that I would do in a knee-jerk reaction, he's got me, so I stop and I think about it and I consider a different angle. And he's maintained that business for a decade and grown it from there. And it's all because he learned to stop, refocus.
That's interesting take, because I can honestly say in the things that I've done in my businesses, you do react. And I've not heard anybody say, just stop for a second. I like that. So when you stop, do you have a set of questions one should ask oneself?
There's one book that I've got sitting on my computer that I haven't been able to get back to, where you stop and you say, what's going on? You know, you look around and you say, what just happened? We've all been there where we've, about 5 years ago, my wife and I started running 5Ks. Probably too old to start doing that, but who cares? Why not? And I was running one evening, and all of a sudden I felt myself falling. And I thought, what in the world's going on? Fortunately, I turned so it's only my arm I skinned up instead of falling on my face. But whenever we have those moments, we stop. And the first thing we ask is, what happened? And we look at what happened. You know, I'm looking for the crack in the sidewalk. Well, there was no crack in the sidewalk. It was just that I was running at night. And I was too tired to really lift my legs properly, and I stumbled. Mm-hmm. The second thing that's key is look ahead. Most people look back once something happened, and you know the questions they ask. Why? Why me? Why now? And although those are good questions to do in a strategic planning session, We need to move through those quickly because we need to refocus on the future. And once we look at it, we usually see an opportunity. Let me use another example. Anytime something happens, think of it as an earthquake. Because earthquakes, although they are terribly devastating, and I'm not making light of them, but one of the things that really benefit us is when we look at these things and we say, wait a minute, after this stuff has happened, after an earthquake has happened, there's damage that's done. We can look at that and we can pine for what was, or we can look at it and say, hey, this is an opportunity to rebuild. We can change. It's never been a better opportunity than right now to change the way we want this to look. There's an opportunity there. Mm-hmm. And, you see this. I know San Francisco did some great things after the earthquake a century ago. I know Chicago rebuilt their city and had an opportunity to do some things after the great fire up there. And I'll give you a personal example. And it's a gut check. Hopefully none of our audience, I wish I could say that none of your audience has experienced this, but unfortunately too many have. In July of 2007, I got a phone call that no parent wants to get. Mm. That my youngest, my 22-year-old son, had died the night before.
Oh, my gosh.
That's a gut check.
Yes.
And there's a lot of people that are ruined by a child dying. Oftentimes what happens, I think it's about 50% of the time, if the numbers I'm hearing are correct, if you lose a young child, about 50% of the time, that marriage will end in divorce.
I'm not surprised.
And because there's so much stress and pressure and everything, and I don't want to make light of that. But what happened after my son's passing, that I was divorced and remarried. My wife is in human resource management at a large law firm. And as we were talking, and we said, we don't want his life to be in vain. And so we wrote, together we authored the book, The ROI of Compassion. Because we said, we want a manual, we want a book where managers can pull it off their shelf and they can say, whenever we pick 5 major events, when any one of these happens, what do I do now? Because we were stunned. I mean, we had to get on a plane and fly back to Nebraska. We had to scramble. We understood what it meant for his workplace. And they did a wonderful job, but we thought, wouldn't it be much better if people had a checklist and say, what do I need to do?
Right. And
that way we can move through the absolute horrible, foggy days of numbness and work through and get those people involved around them, and the employees and everybody else, get them to look ahead. You got to stop in those moments. You got to stop because life just punches you in the gut. But if you stay that way, and too many people look back and they whine and they say, oh, I'll never get over this. And what I tell them gently but firmly is that if you say you'll never get over it, you never will, because you're focusing in the past.
Right.
You got to focus in the future. And so that's another way that that we have to stop, refocus, and keep looking ahead. We do things.
Go ahead.
And I'm sorry. We do things that nobody thought possible. By the way, I did my son's memorial service, and the next day I did the eulogy and a reading at his funeral. And people said, "How could you do that?" And I said, because I knew what needed to be done. I knew the story that we wanted to tell. No one else did. And you overcome obstacles by understanding where you want to go.
My dad passed away about 11 months ago. and I wrote up his eulogy and everything, and I started it, but I had a backup in case I couldn't make it through, and my backup had to step in, but that's, Loren, that's really terrific information. You have really inspired me today. How can people learn more should they want to talk to you?
Well, they can go to one of two websites. I've got my the new Power University, pwruniversity.com. That's my partner and I have formed this. Chuck Desance, a retired Navy man of 35 years, rose from an E1 to an E9, which was a Force Master Chief. There's only 18 of them in the Navy at any given time, and he was one. So he comes at it from a very, very practical approach. But we have that. You can go on there. Otherwise, you can go to unleashtheultimate.com. I trademarked that phrase. And it's a WordPress site where I do my blog. I release a blog once a week, at least. And then they can always check out my Twitter handle, which is at TheOpProf. TheOpProf, at the Opportunity Professor. A lot of ways, and there's ways to contact me from that. Email is Loren at Murfieldcoaching.com. If that's not too much, LOREN at MURFIELD coaching.com. And I tweet a 3D power tip of the day every day. Neat things like, one of the things I said this last week was for leaders to make it easy for their followers to add value.
Okay.
Things like.
Okay, Loren. Well, thank you very much for giving us some insight to what goes on in your business. That was fascinating. I'm sure the listeners really enjoyed it. I know I sure did.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be able to share hope, share ideas of going forward.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.